This is Mark Carrington from mybitcoinprofits.com. It is April the 20th, and this is the weekly review on trading the Bitcoin. You'll remember last week we'd identified that the Bitcoin price was reaching the end of the triangle formed by the rising lows and the lower highs, and I raised some red flags which were based on what the momentum indicators were telling me and what the trade volume was telling me. Well, let's have a look at the charts and see what's actually transpired in the intervening week. So here we have the chart, and I'm just going to slide it across. This is what we were looking at last time, is we had a red flag marker which I'd put in here on this day here, which was based on these indicators here, which are drawn from the trade volume, which indicated to me that on highs of disproportionately high levels of Bitcoin trade volume is that there were disproportionate moves in the Bitcoin price. So let's actually have a look and see what actually happened. And there certainly has been stuff happen. So let's get rid of the unhappy face, because it looks like for the most part we've actually got a happy face. And that's where the risk was. I'd put this bar in here, the risk to show that the price was going to drop dramatically on the 30th, or react dramatically on the 13th. So let's actually blow that up and then see what actually happened. So that's the 14th and the 13th. So we certainly got price stuck its head up over the triangle, pulled back again. So the price reaction was, it did do what I was expecting it to do. What I would like to be trading now, as you can see, we have clearly come out of the triangle. But before I explore that, I just want to go back to talk a little bit about the momentum indicator that I had on the chart. And you'll remember the momentum indicator that I had on the chart was the stochastic. And the reason I was showing some concern is that the stochastic was in the overbought territory and it was turning downwards. So there's a risk in the area up here is that price is going to turn down, and certainly that is what happened. But what we've seen since is that the stochastic has continued, is reversed from there and has continued to rise. Now, is this unusual? So what we normally see is that, as you can see here, is the stochastic breaks down into the 80% area, into the shaded area, and drops down. So we can see our trade activity drops down, and then it'll find a bottom and reverse. In this case, it is not done here. We also have a period over here where the stochastic did break into the overbought area. And if we line up here, so it was somewhere here that it was giving a signal that it wasn't happy. Price ran up, pulled back, and it kept running. So prices kept running upwards while the stochastic has remained in the overbought area. And only when we come out of this area the second time do we actually see the price drop. So where this looks remarkably similar, the price area that we are in now, it's tracking sideways, the price is rising, so the stochastic red flag is still up there, suggesting to me that there could be a correction. Now there are a bunch of other things going on in this chart here. I have no idea what has happened on this particular day here on the 17th of April, maybe I will drag across my spreadsheet, which I have put on the, remember this is the red flag here, so this is the trade volume, and this was the red flag where this level of trade activity was double that level there. And we have again another day on the 18th where we have a disproportionately high level of trade volume compared to the previous day. So let's see if that ties up with anything. So that was actually on the 18th. So the 17th, I would suggest that this is a pricing anomaly. Somebody got diddled in the market. I just want to check with one of the other Bitcoin providers, Bitcoin market providers, to see if this happened in any of the other markets. I'll have to do a search, so I'll search for Bitcoin, and we want Bitcoin USD, and we were looking at Bitstamp, so let's look at the Bitfinex is a fairly large, or let's look at Cexio, CEXIO, it's a pretty large exchange, and let's have a look and see what happened here. So that was on the 17th, so we do not see that spike in activity on the exchange. So that is purely a data anomaly. So let's go back to our chart and explore what it is we could be doing. And by now you will know what my trading strategies are to try to trade the breakouts. So what I'm interested in doing is so we'll get rid of these lines because they're no value to us now. We've done that analysis. I'll get rid of the purple range because we're still tracking within that range, but I'll just take it out for the moment. So I do have a red flag on here around this oversold stochastic indicator. I will put in the MACD indicator just to see what MACD is telling us, because you'll remember previously MACD was running somewhat sideways. And as we rose it up here, as we can see that MACD is now, it's above zero, there's the zero line there, and it is rising. So it is basically reflecting what the prices are doing. So my trading strategy, as always, is I like to trade up, wait for the pullback, and then trade the reversal with the right sort of price action. Now the data here is this spike here is created something of an anomaly in the data. So it's hard for me to identify what the price action is. So what I'm going to look for is a horizontal level that I can trade off, or this downtrend line. So the pullback to this horizontal is where I would be happy to trade. So let's just put it in here. That's where I'd be happy to trade, subject to a few reservations. And my reservations, though, are around the other levels on the chart which I've not yet drawn in. And those levels are, because we're working on a daily chart, I'm going to draw these levels in using a line chart which draws the lines from the closes. There's one here and there is one here. Now this one is this one over here. This lower one is the more important one because there's a touch there and there are two touches there and there's a touch there. So that's probably the more important level. This one is a less important level, but it is going to provide resistance to the trade. So let's go back to bars and let's see what we could be looking to trade. So I think what my preference would be to trade here now is to wait for it to break above the lower of those two levels. Remember, I said that one is more interesting to me, to pull back here, and if I get the right sort of price action in this area, I will be looking to go long. And I have enough space. We've got a weekly level here, so it's going to be dependent on how much space there is by the time we get an entry compared to this weekly level, and where the stop loss level is going to be to make the trade. So that's enough on Bitcoin. So I'm basically waiting on my hands, totally happy that I'm now long Bitcoin in my mining and my holding activities, and quite happy to have not been trading this, because this big spike here on this particular exchange would have wiped out every trade. Now, what it does make sense for us to do is just to have a look at Bitcoin in the other markets to see how it is actually tracking. And this one here is the Bitcoin against the Chinese yuan. You will remember we talked a couple of weeks ago about this box that the price was tracking in, because we explored whether we could range trade this. This is now broken out of the box. The important activity now, though, is to identify how this stands on its trading triangle. And we'll draw the triangle, I'm going to consistently with the way we've done the other one, which is that one there. I'm going to increase the number of touches. I'm going to make it a green line because it's come off the weekly. And then I need to do the one I want to do one here. I'm going to use this low here. From here, and because it's the weekly, I'm drawing it at the bottom of the chart. I'll increase the number of touches there so that we're going through there, and we can see that from the weekly point of view, the Bitcoin against the renminbi is still inside its triangle. Now let's just see how that stacks up on the daily. So you can see here we've not yet reached the top of the daily, and I'm going to make a daily trend line. So the concern here is when I draw the trend line from the daily using the closes, it's actually broken through the triangle. So this is actually pointing to something else as being a risk factor. But if I do this here, yeah, whichever way I choose to draw this, you will see that it's not. That's probably the best one there, because we've got this big reversal here. We made a lower low here in this area, so I'm going to start the triangle from there. And if I do it through the bottoms, let's just check that on the line chart. Now that's the only way that it's going to work. And of course, because I've done this off the daily, it needs to be a red bar, the red line. So the Bitcoin against the Chinese yuan is still inside its triangle, and this is ultimately what makes me uncomfortable about trading the Bitcoin against the US dollar, is because the risk is that if this hits here and then pulls back, we will see a very similar reaction on this. Is that we could well see this thing pulling back here. So that's my review of the Bitcoin price. And then just for completeness, we'll have a quick look and see what's actually happening on the Ethereum price. And I haven't done any changes to these lines. And these are the lines that were drawn last week, and we can see that we tracked back down to the bottom of this uptrend line. It would have triggered a trade possibility in here, and the trade has gone nowhere because it's hit this downtrend line, and it is actually now firmly also in a triangle. So from an Ethereum trading point of view, absolutely waiting in the same way as we always do for a break here, a pullback, and then a retest, or a break here, a pullback, and then a rundown. So that is my review for the week in Bitcoin, and just for a little bit of fun, we can see what happens when we actually trade triangles. You'll remember this triangle we talked about some time ago. This is silver against the US dollar. We drew the triangle in, which is during February, broke out the triangle, got the retest here, and have a look and see what it's gone. It's gone from the retest level, was at say just over $14, and the price is now cleared 17. It had cleared $17. It's close to $17. So that is a pretty neat run up, 25%. Who would have guessed that? Anyway, happy Bitcoining and happy trading.